Alright, in this video I have two trackers. These are bought on Amazon. You don't have to buy them from Amazon. You can get them elsewhere. This is called a Fitfort fitness tracker. This is what it looks like. And this is the Skygrand fitness tracker. These seem to be the most popular trackers of 2019 in the lower price point. Now, how good are these trackers? Well, I'll unbox them. I'll show them to you. And then let's put them up against a more premium tracker. For example, here is a Huawei Band 3. And also I'm going to compare both these trackers to the Polar chest strap because the Polar gives a accurate heart rate reading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unbox these two. I'm going to compare them to each other. And then I'm going to wear them, do some sport and compare the heart rate measurements on both of these. And I'll also compare it to the Huawei as well as to the Polar. All right, so let's unbox them. Now the Skygrand I've actually already unboxed, so that's what it looks like. There we go. So I'm going to move through to the Fitfort. So here's the Fitfort. There's the unit. Some of the paperwork that comes in. You're getting the how to get started, the little booklet. And interestingly, the Skygrand has this booklet. So you can see they are almost identical. Look, this is the Skygrand booklet. And this is the Fitfort booklet. Pretty similar. The Skygrand came with this little quick start and a little thank you card. Well, if you give them a review, they'll reply with a $15 voucher or something like that. I'm not sure. The Fitfort, here we go. Also a little quick start, and then the more detailed user manual, and then they little all steps of how to get a gift. There it says there, sign in. Also a product review, give a review, and then you get a free gift. So also a method of getting higher ratings, I'm sure, or to get more people to review their product, they're offering you a gift. All right, so quite similar in the way they operate. You see here, they also offer them a review and you get a gift, and same as the Fitfort. Maybe it's the same manufacturer. All right, so let's have a look at these two watches. This is the Skygrand and this is the Fitfort. Now, I have worn the Skygrand and I've already done some preliminary tests, so you know it might look a little bit scuffed in that because it has been used. The Fitfort is on my left here. So how do you get started? Well, it's a bit different to the Skygrand. The Skygrand, what you've got to do is you peel that open like that and you plug this into your charger. The Fitfort follows the other approach where you've got to peel off the strap like that, and there you can see. And if you peel off the other side, there you go, there is the USB. Now, keeping in mind that these watches, these trackers don't turn on unless you start by charging them. So this has to be plugged in to your USB slot on your computer, or maybe you've got a wall plug, something like that. Right, so it's a little bit snug there. You could plug it into the USB directly, but in this case, I'm just going to plug it into a USB charger as I've got over here. And as you can see, as I plug it in, there comes the power light and it will turn on shortly. There you can see it's charging. And I'll just leave that for a few minutes. Right, so once you've charged it, you will find that it comes on. You might find that it's not synchronized, it doesn't have the correct time and date, and that is where the phone comes in. You need to synchronize it or connect it or pair it, whatever you want to call it, to your phone. And they both of these trackers recommend using the Very Fit Pro app. For example, as you can see in both the manuals, they specify Very Fit Pro on iOS or Android. Right, so I have the app. There's Very Fit Pro. It's already paired. What you would do is you'll go to device. Now I have an extensive video explaining exactly how to set up your fitness tracker. It works the same for both of these trackers. So in this case, I already have a paired tracker, which is this one. But if you had to pair it, I'll just show you very quickly. Now there are many of these Very Fit apps. So I suppose you're not forced to use Very Fit Pro. What you do is just press on the device tab and then it says bind device. Then it will look for an available device. Now in this case, it happens to be this one. There it is, ID 128, and I say confirm bind. Then the watch is going to do a little vibration, a little bzzzt, and it will synchronize to the phone, and at that point it will get the correct time and date. So if you're wondering why your watch doesn't work, you've got to bind it to your phone. You've got to switch your Bluetooth on your phone, and there it's just made a little bzzz, and there we go, ready to go. So it's now synchronizing, and you can set up your watch from the phone. All the settings are here on the app. So the wrist sense, the heart rate detection, the software updates, all of that. Right, now, that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is how good are these trackers and how do they compare to, say, maybe a premium tracker. Now, I have already used the Skygrand and I've already done some preliminary tests. And here I'm going to now compare it to this one, which is the Fitfort. Now, they are advertised slightly differently. The Fitfort actually says it does blood pressure measurement. As you can see, it says their blood pressure monitoring, which I never saw on the Skygrand. So that's quite interesting. So I was quite interested to see how these two compare. All right, so let's compare these two. All right, first things first, just looking at the mass, this is going to be in grams, and that is 22.75 grams, while the Skygrand is 22.4, it's almost the same. So you could call it much of a muchness. Right, now having a look at the face, the size of the face, the fattest point here is 21.35 millimeters. And if you look at this one, 20.67, keeping in mind that this has got this rubber around you. In order to remove this one, you have to remove that cover. So you can see this one, this comes off completely. If you want to measure that, just to give you an idea, there 20.5. And this one, the body is solid. You can't just remove, you can only remove the straps, 20.6. So it's almost the same. Now, if you look closely at these two, you'll see that they're pretty similar. Right, so before we look at the interface, I'm still looking at the physical properties. If you look at the two straps, they feel quite different. This one has almost got that Casio strap feel, like a plasticky feel, while this is more rubbery. You can just look at the holes. This is, in my opinion, an alloy. This is probably a type of alloy, because I did try and grind it down, and underneath the paint, I did get to see a alloy there. So I don't just assume that it's some sort of, that it's plastic. And both of them have the little lip underneath there, so that it slots through these holes, so that the little band doesn't shift up and down unnecessarily. In order to demonstrate the menus, I've actually had to switch off the overhead lights. That is how dim these displays are. So while they might look nice and bright now, unfortunately they don't compare to, say, the Huawei. It's actually almost too bright, because I've actually had to set my camera to a very high sensitivity to light in order to see these displays clearly. So don't be fooled. Unfortunately, these displays are not the brightest, because just showing you the Huawei, comparing it. All right, so having a look here, you've got almost the home button over there on the display. You've got the time, there's the date, the battery, and now on the Skygrand, as you can see, you scroll up and down. I've already set this up. You can have a look at my complete video on this, and you can scroll in either directions. If you would like to start the training, you will then get to the training section. There it is, and you tap it. You could then say start. You'll press and hold here. It'll count you down, and it will activate the heart rate monitor. There, it's getting the heart rate. All right. Now, you can also change those profiles if you don't want it to be dancing, if you want it to be badminton or other sports. It's available for you to. Now, the way these function is completely different. This one, it's got a touch sensitive pad here, but the watch screen is also a touch screen, right? While the Fitfort, it doesn't have that. It's got a touch sensitive spot at the bottom, and it works on how long you press. See there, it says 10 steps. If I want to go into the details of my step counting, there you can see. So I press it again, a short press, and I'm in the sub menu of this. If I want to interrogate this sub menu, I've got to press and hold it. Moving on, if I want to see my current heart rate, there it is. And then it's got something called blood pressure measurement, which I'll show you shortly. So here we've got the training. You've got walk, run, and bike. Now, maybe you want to change that. You don't only want those three. You can change it in the app, but keeping in mind the manual says that it can only handle 3 at a time. So if you want to start your run now, you'll press and hold here, and it will count you down, 2, 1, and your training starts. If you would like to interrogate and see how you're doing during your training, you just press it and you can see how it goes through all the different parameters. If you are finished your training, you're just going to press and hold here. So you can see there's definitely a difference. The Skygrand is using touch and gestures, while the Fitfort is only using touch and how long you press here for. Now just showing you the feature of the blood pressure, which is not present on the Skygrand. There we go. Now the Skygrand does not have such a function. Now look there, it's going to measure my blood pressure. I unfortunately cannot confirm the accuracy of this. I'm just showing that there is this feature. There you see 120/65. What I will admit is that I have done a few of these little measurements and it is consistent, meaning it's not giving me 130/50 and then the next measurement 145/70. Keeping in mind that when you do blood pressure measurements, you should be relaxed, you should be breathing comfortably, and you should not be moving around. So there you can see the difference. And now the question is, how accurate are these measurements? How accurate is the step counting? How accurate is the heart rate? Now, I'm not going to be doing the blood pressure. I'm interested in the accuracy of the heart rate, and I will compare it just to a more premium brand, the Huawei, and I will use the Polar chest strap and phone as a reference measurement. This will be on my chest, and I'll go and do some activity now and just compare these two, firstly with each other and with a Band 3 Pro and the Polar chest strap. Now, you might be wondering why I would do such a thing. Well, I've already done a preliminary test with the Skygrand, and I found the results a little bit inconsistent. What I was reading off the screen here versus what was shown on the graph here did not correlate. So this is also a test to compare these two trackers with each other, as well as comparing to another two devices. Right, starting all these trackers at the exact same time is a bit challenging. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the Polar one at 10 seconds. So I'm going to say start, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. Right, so I've paused that. Okay, it's starting. 2, 1. Right, so I'm just going to pause it at 5 seconds. Okay, paused. That's ready. Now these two. Okay. Right. Okay. 3, 4, 5, done. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So within 2 seconds. These are within 2 seconds, and these two, 42, 43, 45, these are within 2 seconds of each other. So they're all within 2 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds of each other. All right, I'm going to start the training now. Okay, coming up to 1 minute. My heart rate, right, 86, 82. Coming up to 1.5 minutes. 93, 99. All right, coming up to 2 minutes. 113, 115. Coming up to 2.5 minutes. 121, 111. Right, the Polar is saying 127, and coming up to 3 minutes. 126, 116. 141, 111. Coming up to 5 minutes. 141, 118, 142 on the Huawei. Okay, coming up to 7.5 minutes. The Polar has got me at 132 and dropping. And 134, 116. Right. 9:30, 155 and 116. Alright, coming into 11.5 minutes. 144, 115. 154, 110. Okay, to end all the watches, I'll end within 10 seconds of each other. Basically, okay, stop, done, and yeah. Right, Right, I just want to show you how I got the data. During the training, I was reading out the heart rate and my colleague was noting them. But if I just show you the app, if you look at the Very Fit, it also summarizes the data. For example, there it is. And this happens to be the Fitfort. Now, if you have a look at the graph, kind of following the graph of the polar, and you'll see now when I put the graph on the same set of axis. So there you go. Unfortunately, you can't interrogate this graph, you can't zoom in, you can't get a time scale, so that's all you get. Now, having a look at the Skygrand, this is where it becomes a problem. If you look at the graph, it does show, it even picks up a peak there of over 153. But unfortunately, on the watch, it never shows anything higher than, I don't even think I got to 120. So while here it shows 129 as the average heart rate, you could not believe that if you look at the graph that I've mapped out. So there seems to be a problem in the way the watch shows the display of the heart rate versus what it uploads to the app. This is now my fourth test on this particular problem. So if you have a look at the trend, while it doesn't correlate that well with the Fitfort, it does show that the heart rate does go up and down. Whereas if you remember when I was doing the training and I specifically showed the watch to the camera, you never saw me read anything above 120. But look at that. So there seems to be a problem here. And then the Huawei is very good. It lets you interrogate the graph. You can map all the times, and that's what I did. So if you look there, 1 minute, you'll see I put 84, 1 minute 30, but I did it more accurately. Okay, so 1 minute 30, then I put the associated heart rate, and I went like this right through the training time range. So you can see the shape of that graph. That's quite close to the polar, and I'll show you the polar in a minute. Right, so here's the polar. You can see, you can interrogate the graph. So what I did is I said, okay, at 1 minute, and I noted the heart rate, and then at 2 minutes, 130, 2 minutes, 230, 3 minutes. So I did it every 30 seconds. So this is the heart rate that we are trying to match. We're taking the polar as the reference value. We're saying that this is probably the most accurate. There you get the average heart rate and the calories. You can see that it's got the training duration. And then what I did is, because these are all different, the graphing is on a different set of axes, I then replotted it. So if you have a look over here, you will see, first let me just tell you what you're looking at. These are the different brands. There's the Fitfort, there's the Skygrand, and there is the Huawei, and there's the Polar. These are the time intervals: 1 minute, 1 minute 30, 2 minutes, 2 minutes 30, 3 minutes. And as you can see, I've mapped these out one by one. Now, what you will notice is these I could not get from the app. You can't interrogate the graph. So these were read from the display of the watch, and I noted them down, or my colleague noted them down. So this is what I'm drawing your attention to. If you look at the Skygrand, you can see it never showing me a heart rate above 120. Now, if you have a look at my graph here now, you'll see what I'm talking about. There, the gray one is the Skygrand, and that's what I experienced when I used it. Now, as I said, this is not my first test, not my second. This is the fourth time it's done it. So I can now say that this particular watch is faulty, because this is way off the mark. It does increase and then it does decrease. This wasn't shown here, but it for some reason cannot climb over 120 beats per minute. I'm not sure why. Looking at the Fitfort here in the green, there it goes. Now, keeping in mind the polar is in the blue. So there's the polar. Let me just remove the Skygrand right now. And there you can see the polar in the blue, the Fitfort in the green, and the Huawei in the yellow or orange. And you can see they're pretty well matched. Unfortunately, both missed out here. The Huawei missed this peak. It was a bit late there, but overall it did correct quite nicely. Look at that. This is after I did a firmware upgrade. My original tests on the Huawei, you may see my earlier videos, show both the Huawei and I did the Fitbit, the Inspire HR. Both weren't that great, but they seem to have improved, particularly the Huawei. Now, if I look at the Fitfort, I'm pretty impressed. Look at that. Okay, it had a bit of a wobbly there. It couldn't quite match the polar there. And then overall, it matched it pretty well. So if you look at the summary of this, I'll just show you. The Fitfort steps were 1,371. The Huawei is 1,487. The Skygrand is 1,543. The average heart rate. Now, this is interesting because the Polar is 136. The Huawei is 134. The Fitfort's 133. But how the Skygrand gets 129 when it never even showed me above 120? There must be a fault on this watch. Right, the maximum heart rate, look at that. 162, 170, 160, 160. And this is read off the watch's display at the end of the training. So something doesn't add up here because I consider the 160 correct. The 170 here, I'm not sure, maybe some noise. All right, looking at the calories. So the Huawei and the Polar are pretty well matched. The Skygrand, I can understand the calories are down because keeping in mind that it had only a heart rate of 120, but then it's also confusing because one doesn't know if it's taking what it uploads to the app or if it's taking what's shown on the display. So that's totally way off the mark there, and then as well as the Fitfort, the calories totally way off. Right, so but anyway, calories is a little bit tricky. I've also experienced this with premium brands where the calories are way off. Sometimes I train and I'll use the Fitbit and the Polar, and the Fitbit is way lower than my Polar, and this happens quite a lot. Okay, so to sum up, overall, the Skygrand and the Fitfort both do not have a very bright display. The display isn't that great. The Fitfort has a single touch point, which for me makes more sense. I prefer the interface of the Fitfort. I like the fact that it's easier to use. The Skygrand has more features on the watch. You can do more on the band itself, but not just the Skygrand, even the Huawei, the touchscreen is not great. It often goes into the wrong menu. It often misinterprets the gesture that you do. So I like the idea of the Fitfort where you just got one pressure point or one touch sensitive area, and then it measures how long you press it for. Overall, I would say the Fitfort is worth looking at. The Band 3 is still a good contender, and personally I mostly use a chest strap. Lastly, the app. While the Very Fit Pro app isn't the greatest app, the Huawei Band Health app is way better, and so is the Polar app. So you also got to consider the apps. So I hope that's helpful, and thanks for watching. Cheers.